Hello everyone, my name is Viktor Cicman and I'm a labor market analyst here at Workforce Planning Hamilton. In this video, I wanted to explain some important concepts for understanding the labor market. Workforce Planning Hamilton continues to publish useful information and research regarding our local labor market, and for you to get the most out of them, I thought it would be important to go through some of these terms and most importantly how they are calculated and connected. So, to begin, there are three main concepts that are used to create the rates we use to measure the health of the labor market. These concepts are total numbers, not percentages, and these are the number of people employed, unemployed, and the labor force. You will also need the population, but that is straightforward and doesn't need explanation. So I will go through each one and the rates that accompany them. For employment, this is simply the number of people who are working in a job. And depending on the data source, they can be self-employed, working for an employer, or have multiple jobs. So this is straightforward. Where it might get a little complicated is regarding unemployment. So this is the number of people who want to work and are actively looking for a job, or expecting to be rehired and are waiting for work. The key here is that they are actively looking for work. So how do we determine this? And there may be different ways to determine it, but for this, I will resort to Statistics Canada and the Labor Force Survey. Now this survey is the one released every month that we hear about in the news, since it reports on a regular basis workforce statistics from the local level to the national level. It's one of our best tools we have for understanding the labor market. So the way this works is every month there's a reference week that surveys residents in every city. During this reference week, it is determined if someone is employed or unemployed, and there is a host of other questions that they look at as well. So for someone to be unemployed, Statistics Canada says they were on temporary layoff during the reference week with an expectation of recall and were available for work, or were without work, had looked for work in the past 4 weeks and were available for work, or had a new job to start within 4 weeks from the reference week and were available for work. So now we have the employed and unemployed, and if you combine that, that is the labor force. People who are employed or unemployed make up the labor force, and if you are not in those two groups, you are out of the labor force. There are statistics for people who are out of the labor force, but that'll be for another time. I just want to focus on the main concepts and main topics. So now we have everything to calculate the rates that we hear a lot about. The unemployment rate is the unemployed divided by the labor force. The employment rate is the number of people employed divided by the population. See how it is looking at something else as it is divided by a different subset. So these are two different rates. And then the labor force participation rate is the number of people attached to the labor market divided by the population. Now, all three are needed for understanding the health of the labor market. The unemployment rate is the main statistic that you hear about in the news, and it does show a lot, such as the share of the labor force looking for work. And if we follow this rate over time, we can definitely get a good idea of how the economy is doing. And this is important as we track the trends over time. But it doesn't tell us the whole story. We do need to look at the other rates as well. So, for example, if the unemployment rate goes down, say from the previous month, it could be because more people found jobs, or it could be because more people left the labor force. So now you have less people looking for work from a smaller labor force, and it can show a lower unemployment rate. So in this case, even though the unemployment rate is going down, the economy and labor market is actually not doing as well because people are leaving the labor force because they cannot find jobs. So again, we need to look at all three numbers and rates to get a well-rounded understanding of the job market. So to conclude then, these three rates are what is needed for getting a shorthand idea of how the labor market and indirectly the economy is doing. We can look at other statistics too, like job vacancies, other employment surveys, but the three main rates mentioned and the four concepts mentioned to start, the unemployed, employed, labor force, and population, will really help you with getting an objective understanding of how the job market is doing. Hope this video was helpful. Continue following our page for more information like this. Thank you.